Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
It's Wednesday night. You guys know what that means. Mark Order Podcast here. It's too hot for Ryan to be here because Ryan is too hot to be here. So it's just me and Joe tonight. Joe and me tonight. Joe, how you doing over there?
I'm good. It's like we've never missed an episode before in the last 3 weeks.
I know. It's wild. But I unfortunately wasn't here for the AEW Grand Slam episode. Neither were you. Was it Pluggo or JPJ? I can't even remember who filled in from.
There's your friend Pluggo. Yeah, Pluggo.
I thought it was Pluggo. But I unfortunately wasn't here to talk about a great episode. Did huge numbers, by the way, on the ratings front, which was great to see. But nice to be back. Nice to be here with Joe. And a pretty good episode of AEW Dynamite. It feels like it's been forever, Joe, because we had those 2 weeks before off because of the 4 hours of programming that we were like, you know what, we're gonna not start a show at midnight. How have you been? Who are you? How are you? Tell me everything.
Yeah, it was weird. It felt like a really fast show. It felt like, 2 hours and some change when it went by a lot faster than the last 4 hours and 20 minutes episodes. But I'm good. It's a busy month. A lot of random traveling in the Midwest. But
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this felt short, not only comparatively, but I think they learned something from last week, which had essentially no backstage segments. Their Grand Slam stuff doesn't seem to. It's like a 2-hour pay-per-view almost thrown in the middle of the week. And today it felt like they didn't have no backstage or no promos, but it was paced to put an emphasis on the in-ring. And man, I thought there was some outstanding stuff. Takeshita and Roddy's chemistry. I'm going to need a best of 480. And I'm going to need that last one for them to come out even so that we get another set of at least 12 more. And the main event, Beast Mortos and Hangman, I think we all assumed that would be fantastic. So some great stuff and some really good development on the way to All In. There are a couple things that feel like they're maybe being a little bit thrown together, but I think as far as the stuff that's going to sell that pay-per-view, the stakes that are holding down that pay-per-view, they're in a pretty good place for this, Joe. Like, I feel like we already saw that Okada and Omega is moving tickets. I'm assuming everybody's getting involved in this Hangman and Moxley match. People are going to be coming back. There's going to be surprises. There's going to be a men's and women's casino gauntlet. You have Mercedes and Tony. I think they'll sneak something else on there. But to me, it feels like the things that need to be on there are announced properly. So them throwing together some other stuff that feels a little more haphazard, I'm kind of all right with, because once you've established the really big stuff, I'm pretty good with that. How are you feeling about going into All In?
I think you hit it spot on. The only thing we need another women's match. I think we need one more of those still, but otherwise, yeah, I feel like it's a pretty solid card, especially when we have All Out. Not that far afterwards, so
yeah, I think having the quick turnaround also makes for some interesting booking possibilities, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as these builds continue. But thank you to everybody who's filtering in the chat. We have pieces. We had Joe tiding them over until I got on stream here. We have Scott George. We've got Big G. We've got Pieces. We got Matthew Hooks. We've got the wonderful Kylie, who we love so much. We've got Fernando. So great crew hanging out with us tonight. Please do leave a thumbs up on this video if you would be so kind. That would mean the world to us. Please do subscribe to this YouTube channel. Help us get our subscriptions up there. Definitely goes a long way in helping us get towards monetization. So we appreciate it so much. But we're going to get into this episode shortly. I do want to talk some news and notes. It was reported by Body Slam from Corey Hayes, who's doing some really great work over there. Shout out to Corey Hayes. That it looks like AEW women's tag titles are imminent or going to be in the fold soon. It's felt like they were building toward it. There's a lot of programs that could lean that way, ones that are already built out. You could certainly make Chris and Willow like working through these relationship troubles. They could turn that into something to be inaugural winners if they found their way back to each other, like the sordid lovers that they are. A lot of possibilities on that front, but that's been something we've been saying is way overdue. Tony Khan's been getting asked about it at pressers. Like, it's such a helpful tool to rotating talent, and the men have tag titles and trios titles that nothing's really being done with. Let's get some more women on screen, please. So, what are your thoughts on that? And who would you want to be inaugural champions if they were being crowned like today?
Ooh. Long overdue. I would love to see it come to fruition by All Out if they want to do something like that. Maybe announce it at All In and then crown the first champion at All Out or something. I feel like we're going to have a tournament because we have to have tournaments, right?
First of all, of course. And second of all, yes. And third of all, no duh. So those are my 3 points in response to that.
I kind of like the idea of Willow and Stat versus like Megan Bang and Penelope for the title.
Okay, I like that too. It's funny. I've been seeing a lot of like, if Bailey comes over, right? Like, what that could kind of look like if Mercedes starts to lose all these titles. I don't know when Bailey's contract is up, but people are alluding to her having purple hair on screen now. People are saying she's kind of like seeming kind of checked out and the creative's not great, which usually on your way out, you're putting people over. So I think she's a big hope for AEW. Like Willow and Chris versus Mercedes and Bailey. I feel like, imagine that as your incoming program, 2 tag titles, which is something no American wrestling promotion has gotten right. Especially knowing how much Mercedes wants to travel the world with titles. Like, you could show up at New Japan Strong with those. You could show up at Stardom with those. There could be a lot of fun work done. So I like that idea, though. I like what you said about the initial program being Willow and Chris versus Penelope and Bane, because we've seen a lot of legit tag work out of them. They feel like a tag team. So, and also, I do want to get your thoughts on a couple of other things. One, we didn't get to talk about it last week because we weren't here, but Mercedes and Beast Mortos. We don't normally talk a lot of personal lives, but they went public, and I just find that to be the funniest, most adorable thing in the world. Because I've heard, and now people are starting to get glimpses of it, I think. He's like male model attractive, but he comes out in this Beast Mortos gear, so nobody knows because he keeps true to Lucha, but he's like an insanely attractive dude. But what's amazing is like TMZ was the one that first reported it, and it's like her and all of her like megastar splendor, and then the picture they use is just him in his gear, and it's the funniest thing in the world. How in on this pairing are you, and would you go to Beast Mortos for your legal representation, because he's also going to be a lawyer pretty soon?
First of all, yeah, you have to go with the Beast photo because it has to be the Beauty and the Beast contrast, right? You have Mercedes and you have the Beast. So you have to have them that way. You can't have them with the mask off and the long hair flowing and, this big athletic dude who's a lawyer who's also with Mercedes. I mean, he had a hell of a week last week. And now he's on TV more lately. He's wrestling in Arena Mexico for the first time in like 14 years. I mean,
crazy.
Yeah, and I would definitely hire him as my lawyer. Why not? I mean, of all wrestling lawyers, why not him?
I think of wrestling lawyers especially because, like, Smart Mark doesn't have the best track record. Like, so I feel like him as a wrestling lawyer, he's at least going to intimidate someone with all of his growling at minimum. And I also trust that his law firm is going to be really well because he's paired up with a CEO. So you just know like things are going to be very organized in your process because there's going to be like a very smart and talented woman running the ship over there. So I'm in on it. I'm in on the Beauty and the Beast pairing. But I had said like he takes a lot of L's on AEW television, but 2 of those L's now are for Love and for Lawyer. So I am here in the Beast Mortos camp. He looked great tonight too. He looked great in Arena Mexico. It's so I really do wonder what some of the takeaways are because there was a lot of the discourse online about like that show was catered to the Mexican live crowd, not the television crowd. There weren't promos. Hangman just came out and gave a full promo in Spanish talking about how like Mexican people helped him with his family's, I think, farm and like land when he was a kid and how they're now guests in the home of Arena Mexico, basically, and how the lesson to it is all if we all like come together, really beautiful things can happen. He's just delivering this whole promo in Spanish. And he was like, my Spanish isn't that great, but incredible promo. No backstage segments, tons of just like crazy lucha stuff. You want to talk about things that didn't have the strongest build. That did have the strongest build. It had some things. Mercedes winning the CMLL title, I think, was a really fun moment. But like of all the criticisms that you overhear online, that show, I think, did either their biggest rating or their second biggest rating of the year. And I feel like this company, like if you are a wrestling promotion, what is your takeaway of that? Because you can't run a weekly show that has no builds, and you can't run a weekly show that has no backstage segments, and you can't run a weekly show that's purely lucha. But I think maybe just the general takeaway is like, we got to get some of these luchadors on track because that is a draw right now. Like lucha wrestling is a draw right now. So maybe we should find a way to like get gold on someone or whatever, get more lucha wrestlers on tracks where they're not losing. What are your thoughts on all of that? Because it was a very different style show. I know it was a special, but for them to do a bigger rating than they've done all year, that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to kind of test the waters and dip your toe into that Mexican market there. And well, yeah, you kind of throw your standard show out the window and do the kind of special one there. But I think that gives you at least a baseline for when you go back. You know what to build off of. So that's what I'm hoping that comes out of that. I know it's a little different, but and to your point about Mortos earlier about him taking 2 L's, if you put 2 L's on their side, they kind of can W. You know?
They do.
So
they do. And if you then take the tops of those L's and just you make a little heart. You can turn it into a heart for love. Some good stuff. Some good stuff coming out of that Arena Mexico. I feel like I've mentioned it a lot on this show, but I feel like it's underrated in general how much better the pacing going into pay-per-views has been this year. It was a huge issue last year. And I feel like they've really been nailing the pacing of their stories. There's more of them. I still wish they would lighten the cards, but I think they've done a very, very good job. Let's do some Casino Gauntlet talk. And then we will move into our commercial break and into tonight's episode of Dynamite. We're getting a men's one. We're getting a women's one. I didn't check to see timing of non-competes. Like, I don't know if like a Dakota Kai could show up in one. I would love for Beth Phoenix to show up in one. Like, it would be nice to have some women's legends on the women's Casino Gauntlet. One thing that I was recounting, I was like, there are so many injured wrestlers. As strong as the product's been, Jay White's been out, Orange Cassidy's been out, Eddie Kingston's been out. You could have Nigel McGuinness. That's just his thing. He's just in the Casino Gauntlet at All In every year if you wanted. Like, you could sell me on that. You could have people from other promotions in it. You could have people showing up to be enforcers on the other side. Okay, one LT photo saying like that they'll be out of their non-compete window. So like a Dakota Kai showing up, I think could be something that's really interesting. Your thoughts on any surprises and who you think may win?
Some good shout-outs in the chat on the women's division with like Elena Black and Shayna and Shotzi, but I don't know. Maybe Chief Robinson comes back in this gauntlet. He's
Could
close to
be.
being back, right? So it'd be a nice little spot for him to come back in. Trying to think
If
of
you
other.
did him and Jay White back to back, if Jay White was somewhere near ready, like to just do one of those spots, that could be fun. But either way, I am team Juice Robinson for sure. Get that guy back on my television.
I think of any other bigger names or surprises that aren't already in the company. Do you have any top of your head as far as the men's side?
On the men's side, like I feel like it would be from other companies more than it would be from like the indies as a pull right now. Like they could certainly do like Mustafa Ali or something if they wanted, but like I feel like with Forbidden Door around the corner, maybe you're putting some lucha talent from CMLL in there, maybe you're putting some Yoda Sujis in there, or like Gabe Kidd I think is almost certainly in there because I think he shows up later for Mox anyway. I'm trying to think on the New Japan side. I don't feel like Zack Sabre Jr.'s in this one for no reason. I think you just wait till Forbidden Door for him. Despy would be super, super fun. But yeah, I kind of feel like I'm hoping it's more injury returns within the roster. Like I think there's a lot of ways to go. There was a report on Fightful Select, and I'm really glad to hear and see it. Because there was just a while where they were signing everybody that was not with WWE anymore. And there are certainly some talent that made a lot of sense for. And there are certainly a lot of talent that panned out. Every champion right now is a former WWE talent. Is that right? Swerve, Cole.
Not Garcia.
Not
Garcia, right? He wasn't.
Well, Adam Cole has that belt now. Tells you how much.
Gosh, yeah.
Tells you how hot that's been. But I mean, other than Okada, right? And then on the women's side, it's Mercedes and Tony. So there's certainly like a lot of instances that did work out, but like the ones that didn't work out. Like there was some really tumultuous stuff with some of those talents. So there was a report that they're being like picky choosy about it. And there's not a ton of people in the last crop that I'm like, a lot of them just were women, but like even the ones that you might kind of like take a flyer on, I don't feel like they have like the weight of a big name surprise. I'm always rooting for the former Duke Hudson, Duke Hanson to show up. But even him, who I think has all the potential in the world, I don't think he's like well known enough that you throw him on television in that way where like a stadium's not going to lose their mind when they hear his name, right? I think a stadium will lose their mind if they hear Dakota Kai's name or Shayna Baszler's name. So on the men's side, I'm thinking it's like Forbidden Door crossover and hopefully some injury returns. If Eddie's in it, they'll go fucking crazy.
But with MJF, I feel like it's kind of telegraphed for him to win it anyway.
I do too. I think there's a very strong possibility that Cope returning is a good shout if they're not going to jump to Cope returning and then him and Christian just immediately being in tag programs in Canada for All Out, I think is good since they're slow burning the story with Nick Wayne. I feel like it's MJF's to lose. I feel like he's got to cost the Hurt Syndicate at some point. I feel like him getting told he has a small dick and the Hurt Syndicate laughing at him today has to be like the fuel for MJF to wise up on some of this stuff a little bit. But him being in the Casino Gauntlet with how hard he's been going in on like the Hangman stuff, how much that's been getting mentioned again. It feels like that unless Bobby Lashley is like, fuck you, I want a shot at the world title. And they rabble rouse, But MJF was my thought too. Because I'm assuming it's going to be Hanger and Max and Hanger already have that history. Like that's a good way to go about business. Women's side, I would love for it to be Athena. I would love for Athena to win and beat Toni Storm. And it's the thing that Mercedes couldn't do. Like Mercedes loses to Toni and Athena beats Toni after winning the Casino Gauntlet, probably after losing the ROH women's title. I'm salivating for that story. They could just have like Dakota Kai show up and win it. They could certainly like Chris Statlander hasn't had a world title shot in a really long time. There's so many things you could do. Though I feel like we're gonna get a tag program that involves the women on that side. I would love for them to use it as a way to catapult someone to make them feel important again. Of Thunder Rosa, Deonna Purrazzo. But I just don't know. I just don't know. What are your thoughts on the women's side?
Dakota makes the most sense, but I can kind of see a Corbin Jade come in, so she tends to have a history there. It just be a little pop, and then you can use her in kind of that mid card of the women's division, or just throw over ROH afterwards to help that division, especially if you're going to use Athena more at AEW.
Sure.
Yeah, I think those seem like the most reasonable ones in my head.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that Athena being on television is a good sign that she's at least going to be on television. Like that she's going to be dropping that ROH title, and hopefully, because this is the most consistent we've seen her, and she's been in important stuff pretty much every time. So that would be cool. Well, we are going to take a quick break. I'm going to get an ice water because it's fucking hot out, people. Hi, Jesse Ozog, by the way. We told Ryan not to stop by because we just wanted you to have a peaceful listening and watching experience tonight. So we said, hit the bricks, Rye Guy, for one episode. But we are going to take a quick commercial break. Joe is very smooth on production, so whether he chooses to narrate this all is up to him. But we're going to take a quick commercial break so you can hear about some other shows on the Shining Wizards Network. Then we're going to come back and we're going to get into what was a really solid Dynamite, incredible in-ring, some solid progression, some good stuff. So we'll see you on the other side of the break.
You for tuning in every Monday night to listen to The Shining Wizards. If you'd like to continue to support us outside of listening, we've got a few ways for you to do that. If you shop at Amazon, go over to amazon.shiningwizards.com, do your shopping as usual, and when you make your purchase, a little bit of that purchase price will go back to support the show. If you like to wear t-shirts, merch.shiningwizards.com will take you to our Pro Wrestling Tees store, where we've got over a dozen great designs from over 11 years of professional wrestling podcasting. You can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/wizardspodcast, where each and every week we call out your name as one of our show producers, and the more you support us, the more things that you're entitled to receive, and believe me, they are fantastic. If you can't support us monetarily, if you don't shop at Amazon, that's absolutely fine. Continue to listen to us wherever you listen to us on the World Wide Web, and make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Doesn't cost you anything, helps us out, and we can continue to bring you the love fest that is The Shining Wizards.
What's up, folks? It's your boy, the Impact Player, Mr. Philly Ray, inviting all of you to check out the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. Join us as we cover all things current in the world of pro wrestling, as well as paying homage to the old school, the Squared Circle. So listen in and find out why we are the recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting. Find us on all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast from. And as always, we are the proudest members of the Shining Wizards Network and Rant Entertainment Media.
Are you tired of being lied to every day by the mainstream media?
Do you want to know what's really going on in the world?
Do you want to make up your own mind about things and not be told what to think or say?
Then listen to Inconclusive Breakdown, a weekly anti-PC look at the world of entertainment and current events, brought to you without censorship or filters.
You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts, BitChute, and on ShiningWizardsNetwork.com.
And also, we're a proud member of the Shining Wizards Network.
Got 30 minutes to kill?
Come check out 30 Screams or Less, where we review a horror movie in 30 minutes or less. We cover new movies and old ones too.
We'll give our honest thoughts on the movie, good or shit, as well as a rating of each one that we watch.
New episodes weekly, available on the Shining Wizards Network and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Corey.
Come check us out at 30 Screams or Less.
G'day guys, my name is Thomas, one half of the Broadcast Podcast. With our podcast, we go back and watch wrestling events from WWE, WWF, WCW, ECW, AEW, and many other wrestling promotions. You can check us out on Twitter at The Brokast, that's TheBrokast, and you can also download all episodes on Apple Podcast, Castbox, Castro, and many other podcast apps.
You like your music heavy? Then check out Radioactive Metal on the Shining Wizards Network. For over 16 years now, Radioactive Metal has been one of the longest running podcasts. Over the years, we've interviewed some legendary metal acts, had some awesome discussions, and cranked a hell of a lot of tunes. So join your cool Uncle Snowy and his co-host Aaron for the audio mosh pit that is Radioactive Metal here on the Shining Wizards Network.
Well, the action is underway!
What's up, everyone? When on the Shining Wizards Network, be sure to check out Wrestling Night in Canada. If we're not recording another kick-ass podcast,
Or playing in punk bands.
Or recording kick-ass heavy metal albums,
then we're sitting back, we're grabbing a couple brews, and going over everything to do in the world of pro wrestling.
because we're from Winnipeg, you idiots.
The Mark Order Podcast is the only show you need if you're looking for dedicated coverage of everything AEW on the Shining Wizards Network. Join us live on YouTube every Wednesday night at 10:15 p.m. Eastern after Dynamite to chat along with the show. If you can't join us live, listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on all social channels at Mark Order Pod and use the hashtag #JoinTheMarkOrder, because if you don't find us,
we will find you.
I'm Kevin Rowe.
I'm Al Day.
And we're a couple of down-under-pounders that co-host Rogue Day Dots, an action figure collecting podcast where we talk about, well, just about anything that tickles our fancy at any given moment.
We're grumpy old men, and sometimes people get on our nerves. And when you get on our nerves, guess what? You get off the lawn.
Get off my lawn, asshole! We also go on a little bit of a mission. We go back and we're grading every wrestling figure line that's out there. I'm talking LJNs. I'm talking Jacks. I'm talking Hasbros. Who doesn't like a little Hulkaplex? It's a Gorilla Brain wrestling podcast production found on the Shining Wizards Network.
I'm Duke Bags.
Kevin Rowe.
And together we are the co-hosts of Your Duke and Road. If you want to hear about some terrible wrestling shows, we got you covered.
Well, we talk about good ones, too.
We're currently talking about the death of WCW.
I know what we're fucking talking about. Sometimes we get guest spots, like from the Taskmaster. I like to listen to the Your Duke and Rogue podcast. They're funny guys. That I like when they talk about the Nards plows. I like Nards plows. That's a good move. And I like the Dungeon of Doom. You know, sometimes I call my butt the Dungeon of Doom. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Oklahoma.
Let me tell you a little bit about my favorite wrestling podcast. All right. It's a podcast for two men, Duke Bags, Kevin Rowe. They talk about professional wrestling. It's a man's sport. All right? And who better to talk about a man's sport than Duke Bags? Oklahoma.
And once in a while, Vince Russo stops by.
Whoa, you piece of shit! If you're not listening to the Your Duke and Rowe podcast in the back with the boys, you piece of shit, I don't know what you're doing. It's, you gotta slide one in there. If you're a man, you're talking about something only a man can do. You're talking about sliding one in there. Bro, take the time to slide one in there. All right, bro, you piece of shit. Slide one in there. A Gorilla Brain wrestling podcast production that you can find on the Shining Wizards Network.
We are so back. It's Kate and Joe bringing you tonight's AEW Dynamite portion of the Mark Order podcast as we hit the half-hour mark right now. Let's dig into this episode. We talked about it a little bit already. We talked some all-in build, but kind of our overall thoughts. The only thing I want to make note of, because a lot of people were asking, self included, because I love Ian Riccaboni so much. He's been appearing a lot, and I am of the belief that he elevates the product. People were like, is he full-time in it? Because we ain't mad, but they try to bring him in for situations where they're doing double tapings, and tomorrow was another Thursday Collision. They're in that slot a lot. I'm going to ask some people that I know about some things with that, because I'm wondering if they're thinking about moving to Thursdays, because they don't care about ROH, so they might as well. But for double tapings, they just don't want Shivani doing 4 hours. They didn't want JR doing 4 hours. We already have a different Collision team, right? So you can bring in some fresh voices for the other side of things when you start to include Ian Riccaboni in your commentary. He's the best, so I have no complaints about it. But I feel like my only thing with commentary tonight was Taz cutting off the Willow rep. Unacceptable. This used to be a proper country. What has happened? What has happened? I'm unraveling at the seams.
For a person who usually likes to have fun at the commentary desk, I mean, do we not remember all those times of doing commentary at dark?
It was like a field trip.
Yeah.
And now he's like Mr. No Fun Jones over here. What are we doing?
Man, the dynamic changes when we have Ian there, I guess.
Ruined it. Ruined everything. Taz ruined my night. But this episode of Dynamite didn't. It wasn't like OMG, oh my gosh, which it didn't need to be after last week, but some incredible in-ring, and I liked everything that we got. I really did. So a lot of this episode was just progression, so sometimes that's not almost always like the most tantalizing thing in the world, but it's all very necessary headed into the next couple of weeks. So you have an opening women's segment, which was great to see, with Mercedes and Toni Storm. And Mercedes, what I took out of this was like, she is sick of being made to look the fool by Toni Storm, kind of. Like, Toni Storm's been getting the one up a lot. And I think it's starting to get under Mercedes' skin. We got a much more serious promo from her tonight. It was not like eating steaks ringside. You know what I mean? We got some more sincerity out of Mercedes the past couple weeks. And I love that Toni Storm is like, I have the world championship. So like, you can win as many other belts as you want, but the one that's on the line at All In, that's this one, and it's mine. None of your little belts are on the line there. Mine is, and I don't care about those other belts. I care about my belt, and I'm not letting go of it. Really liked what we got out of this little like attack of Toni Storm on the ramp. What did you think of the more serious stuff we've been getting over the course of the past couple weeks with this feud? I like it.
Yeah, I feel like it shows Mercedes' vulnerability as a character and her insecurity and not being in the proper spotlight that she thinks she should be in, where Toni has it right now. The thing I took away from it was, especially when Mia comes out to check on Toni and chase off Mercedes, was I feel like Mercedes needs a partner or a friend or a colleague to kind of go up against Mia and Toni after this match at All In. I feel like there needs to be some kind of tag match down the line here.
Sure, I could see that. It doesn't feel like Camille was the right fit. So who are you thinking joins Mercedes? Do we see the Renegades come in here? Do we see more of a heater style? What do you think we're getting?
Well, we tried the heater style. That didn't work out so well. The Renegade twins, I mean, I feel like if we would have seen them a long time ago, by now.
I agree.
No. What about maybe one of the WWE people?
Sure.
You have like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know her ties with Shayna, but she'd be intimidating enough to come in. But yeah, maybe someone from the WWE from that side, be a free agent.
Okay, not mad about that. That would be a fun surprise. I know Bailey obviously has history with Dakota, so it could be a custody battle for Dakota if Bailey were to show up. I think we still have some time on Bailey's contract, but it's just so fun to fantasy book like a Bailey versus Chris Statlander match. Like, come on, like that. There's just some wonderfully nasty work to be done there. But I'm with you. I'm with you. They could spice it up a little bit. I really do feel like Mercedes is losing. I think a lot of her winning all these belts. I feel like a lot of people are working like all the Mercedes Hogan shit. Like, I think it's all extremely deliberate. And I feel like it will have run its course by the time we get to All In. Like, I think we're ready for the downfall, and then it's Mercedes. Like, she could go away and cut an album. She could go away and fight in Japan. She could go away and be in a movie. Like, or she could start a more organic face turn if she starts to lose all the belts, right? You have Forbidden Door coming up. You have so much happening. I don't know when Stardom has like their own G1, I think. I don't know if it's in the same time frame or not, but like certainly there's fun things that could come out of that. She did not get pinned by Azumi. She lost in a triple threat, so she still has the score to settle with Mina. We find out later on that AEW 300, my God, like just a lot of big moments happening for AEW in a short period of time. I think there's a Mercedes downfall in the not as distant future. So, but you're right. If she does win, she needs. I mean, really, she should just have someone to counteract Luther. You know, I mean, you gotta fight off that guy. So
the thing with Mercedes and her belt collecting, where was the discourse when Kenny was doing this? I mean, no one was saying Kenny is controlling his creative. No one said that. So I don't understand.
It's so stupid. It's sexism and racism for sure. Like they didn't do it with FTR, and FTR didn't. I don't think FTR defended their New Japan tag titles the entire time that they had them. And I remember being frustrated by that. But the discourse was never FTR's in charge of their own creative. The discourse with Kenny and FTR was, well, it makes sense they're a belt collector run. They're the best in the world at what they do. And guess what, idiots? Mercedes is the best woman that's allowed to work across multiple ecosystems in the world. I think that's a fair thing to say. Now, you could certainly make the argument that Toni Storm is the best wrestling star in the world or whatever, but I think there's most reasonable people, or like if you know Stardom and you know Ball, like I'm sure there's women over there that you could argue are better than Mercedes, but it's silly to not include her from an in-ring perspective as like a top 3, top 5's even stretching it, woman outside of WWE who can go on a belt collector run like this. And I think part of why there's some resistance to it is we just haven't ever seen it from a woman before. And that's actually kind of really special once you wade through the bullshit of like, not that I know of. There's certainly a lot of wrestling that happened before I started watching it, but I don't think any woman has got on a belt collector run like this because it just wasn't an option. It just wasn't an option for a very long time. So interesting stuff, but I'm loving it. As long as she keeps delivering in the ring the way she has, I don't give a shit. Like, she's an unbelievable wrestler. Her feuds always leave talent in better places than where they started. Like it's really inspired work in my opinion. But we'll move right along to this Will Ospreay and Swerve match and interesting post-match segment. They defeat Lee Johnson and Blake Christian. In a really good match. And I like that Lee Johnson and Blake Christian are around. Lee Johnson was someone that if you were one of the 8 people that watched ROH, which I was, he improved dramatically in a very short time. And Blake Christian has always been great, but the past, I don't know, probably, is it a year and a half or so now that finally that like he's been in this heel run from the indies to now? He's just really, really found himself as a wrestler. When I was, getting onto this stream. I had the YouTube stream for Fightful open from before, and it had rolled over into the current one. And Sean was just saying, like, I'm pretty over the rope spot, though. We got to stop with this rope walking. And with as much lucha wrestling as we're seeing, there's a lot of it. But in ring, this was a blast. Ospreay and Swerve have certainly found their groove. There was a fun situation where this match wasn't happening tonight. This match was happening right now. And I loved the detail. And I saw a lot of people saying, I loved the detail of Will Ospreay and Swerve not being prepared for the fight right now. It took them longer to get to the ring. Ospreay's still taping up and putting on his gear as they're getting to the ring. It was the deepest into elevated I think that we've ever heard, because he wasn't just sitting around in Gorilla waiting for the match. I love details like that. And because I also cover WWE, that happens constantly, and everybody's just always prepared to fight right now. Like they weren't. And I also like that they are not really fully on the same page about things, and they're getting thrown into this. Like, it makes you buy into the kind of reasonable doubt that maybe these guys can't pull off working together when they're being puppeted by the Young Bucks. But let's start with the match. What did you think of the match and the way that they got out there?
I like the build of the match. Like, like you said, it was kind of a in shambles rush to get to the ring, to try to find your footing, to get on the same page initially. But eventually, it goes through the paces, and at the end, they have really nice teamwork to, get the house call and all that stuff. And I thought, Blake Christian and Lee Johnson were the right tag team to challenge them, where you knew they're going to win, but they were good enough to press them, especially with the advantages they had. And the one part that made me chuckle about the details we were talking about when they were coming to the ring, I like the fact that Swerve, in order to get ready to get to the ring, he puts his shirt on, and then he goes to the ring and takes it off.
Takes it off. It's like when Bray Wyatt used to light the lantern just to blow it out at the end of the ramp. That always drove me a little crazy. So funny.
Yeah,
we got some more people joining in the chat, by the way. We see you, Greg Cherry. We see you. One LT Photo's been hanging out for a little bit, but I don't know if I called him out earlier. So we do so. We try to call you out when you're hanging out with us. LaRon is hanging out. Timothy Drake joined a little bit later. So thank you for hanging out. Do leave a thumbs up if you would be so kind. It's very much.
What would you name a tag team of Swerve and Ospreay?
I swerve when I bruv. What would it be? I don't think it's like a name mashup. That's what I'm trying to think. Like that's a tough one. But I also like, if I'm fantasy booking, these we're gonna talk about later. The tag titles don't mean anything to me right now. And at least Lashley and Swerve have history. I don't think you do a Ospreay Swerve tag belt run when there's so much like emotional juice left in this Hangman and Swerve story. I think you could do a Hangman Swerve tag team run, 2-man power trip. Not 2-man power trip. They have the tag titles while Hangman also has the world titles. And then the pace of that, Hangman loses early and you ride out the tag run. I would not be mad if Speedjet won, though. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit. But I don't know what their name would be. Swerve Assassins is pretty sick. Swerve Assassins is pretty cool. Well, Ospreay's got some good nicknames.
Yeah.
Underrated on the nickname front, and not just because I'm a TMDK stan. Robbie Eagles being called the Limb Reaper, I think, is incredible. That's such a great submission artist kind of thing. I swerve and I fly is really good. Oh man. Well, after the match, the Young Bucks appear, and Swerve and Ospreay end up challenging them for All In Texas, which I think we saw coming. And a lot of people, self-included, were like, we got to get some stakes on this guy, though, because that feels like we're just doing this as an all-star thing, despite the story being strong. The EVP ship is what Will Ospreay wants on the line here. Now, I don't know if that's a controlling stake as EVP, like whoever wins it is EVP, or if you lose your EVP ship. If Swerve and Ospreay lose, they can't come out during Hangman's match. They can't challenge for the world title for the rest of the year. Like, if it's going to be the EVP ship is on the line, or next week the Bucks will say, okay, well, if you lose. But I think that's a really interesting angle, because I feel like it's productive either way, and that it either emboldens the EVPs or like it's a forced in-story character change that happens at the same time. I'm assuming Jon Moxley loses his title. So it's like all of the evil or overlords lose all of their power at once is like kind of a cool way to rip off a Band-Aid like that. How are you feeling about this? And what do you want to see on the other side? Do you want to see this be do you want to see the Bruv in charge with Swerve? Or do you want to see the Bucks counter with something else?
It'd be more entertaining. The former with the Swerve and Ospreay being EVPs.
Prince Nana could be a legit prince. Like, you would have like the kings, and then like, I want that just for the
just like a week.
The Nana side of it.
Yeah, like if they get for like a week or something, and it's like, no, we're gonna give them power back. Give them back to the people. Be nice, and release us from this tyranny.
Just for like 1 to 2 weeks of Will Ospreay going around as the Bruv in charge of things would be unbelievable.
But yeah, I think the Bucks counter is some kind of stipulation of, they're not going to take that match without Ospreay and Swerve risking something.
I think it would be cool if you had if they said you can't interfere at the end. But obviously Swerve has to, but he just comes down and remember when Bucks gave Hangman the nod? Like, if Swerve just gave him the nod of it's time for you to end this title reign. You're the guy to do it. But then Swerve's not interfering. He just comes out and gives Hangman the peace of mind that he needs, the last oomph of redemption. And then Will Ospreay not being involved, that's fine, right? He'll have had that tag match.
I like that idea, or it's either not be involved or neither of you can challenge for the world championship or whatever. No.
Yeah. I feel like the rest of the year is good because it takes Hangman immediately out of the Swerve.
Mm-hmm.
It's so obvious Swerve would have to get a match out of a gentleman's agreement that it gets Swerve out of he faces Ospreay and Swerve thing immediately. But it's a very interesting call. I really like it. I really like it because if the Bucks lose, them having they're such dramatic characters whenever they take on a new persona that them having a storyline forced reason to do so will be interesting. We were talking about
see them in the locker room with the rest of the boys. They have to change Mr. Pentaco. They have to hang out. They don't have their swanky private dressing room.
That downfall would be so funny. I was also just thinking about, we talked about the Casino Gauntlet. We didn't even mention Jack Perry. If Jack Perry had to come and pick up the pieces of the Young Bucks here, there's some fun stuff. There's some fun stuff that could happen. Well, speaking of fun, Kota Ibushi returned for Collision, and in this match, it felt like, Kota's back. And Trent knew how to work with him really, really well. I really liked this match. Trent hilariously tweeted, the only reason I lost is that congratulations to him. He was getting married. He was like, my body wasn't in shape after my honeymoon and eating all this delicious food and drinking all these delicious drinks for me to have it. He was kind of low-key disrespectful to even book this match. It was very, very funny. He's so great in the ring, and he's been so snake bitten by injuries, but he always comes back in insane shape. And when Kota showed up on Saturday, I was like, I don't remember Kota having those abs, I don't think, ever. He looked ready to go. And I think he had ankle or knee. I can't remember what it was. I think both of his ankles exploded. But he looked like the Coda of old. A really fun return that I had just forgotten about. Like I wasn't anticipating because we hadn't heard in forever about him. But this was really fun, and you had a nice interaction before all of this too with the Young Bucks, which we'll cover in a minute. But what did you think specifically of this match?
Yeah, it was the perfect dance partner with having Trent be Ibushi's opponent with their history in Japan. The style of the match they wrestled was much more, a little bit slower pace, lost good striking, but yeah, Ibushi looked incredible. I feel like this is the Ibushi we wanted years ago when he showed up in AEW, but due to injuries, he just wasn't quite the same. But and we thought maybe he was. He wouldn't recapture that form again, but yeah, he looks like he is a golden lover now again.
He is a golden lover now again. And you're right, like we haven't gotten to see the Coda that New Japan fans know. And as up on New Japan as a lot of the AEW diehards are, there are people that don't know about the golden lovers. They don't know about Kota Ibushi. And there's this really beautiful moment with Kenny, and he talked about when they were starting AEW, like, of course they wanted to sign Kota, but he was like, it was just his time in Japan. Like, I don't think they offered him a contract because he was like, I think he said, like, we didn't offer him a contract because we knew he would take it. And it's not it's not time for him to be here yet. It's time for him to be the guy there. So I'm so happy that he gets to have, he just looked very healthy tonight. And I hope he gets to have what we want out of this. You want to talk about ways to bolster that tag division. I'm thinking Kenny ends up your unified champion, at least by the end of All Out. Because I think there's an interesting possibility that Okada wins and they turn around and they're just like, fuck it, we're running it back in Canada and Kenny wins. But a Golden Lovers reunion is a beautiful thing. We also had this the backstage is like, sometimes with AEW, I'm like, the shorter the better with you guys, because sometimes just like they have good enough actors, I guess, where it's just like some of the stare downs, I'm like, you don't have to say anything. Like I'm sold on Okada and Takeshita now. But we have this really great interaction between the Young Bucks and the Callis family, and just like the Jacksons remind me of the hyenas from The Lion King. When their approaches to that, and this may actually work. Like, they're so ridiculous sometimes. But we get Okada kind of crashing the party. And this Okada Takeshita stare down, I was just like, yep. And then when I saw Takeshita and Roddy later in the night, I was like, I need Takeshita wrestling for an hour every Wednesday. Like, this guy, the sky is the limit for him. But they're doing a really good job. It feels so late in all of this, but the Death Riders are more interesting than they've been the whole time. And the umbrella story they were trying to do last year, it feels like the EVPs now actually are manipulating the locker room more than they ever had before when they were in the original EVP angle. So I really, really like we're not bad guys because we're on the same side necessarily, but like, enough that you're taking out Kota Ibushi, right? Because you hate Kenny, so that's his guy. Like, this is really, really, really good layered stuff, and I love that they're not like, here are all the layers. They're just doing it in these quick backstages, and some of the moments that get built, man, whoo, good shit.
Yeah, it's we struggle enough with time on TV for other matches and things like that. So sometimes less is more, like you said.
Yeah.
And to be able to have that many layers in that short amount of time is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I there's something really refreshing about a mature enough fan base that they don't spoon feed it to you on a silver platter. Like, it's they assume we're intelligent enough to know what that all meant, which is awesome. Well, here was a Jon Moxley promo that I felt like was really good. And I feel like the Death Rider stuff has been infinitely more interesting. but the setting made it feel like he was skipping detention in high school. That was my only complaint about this. He said he has less than zero sympathy for Hangman Page, and he promised to make Page start looking for another job after All In, basically saying, like, you've been spiraling this whole time. You don't think you're going to let this slip through your hands against me? Really, really, really liked the direction that kind of since, I mean, Samoa Joe's just the best. So like that was all working really well. The Swerve story was working well, except everybody wanted Swerve to win. But it's been infinitely better the past couple months than where it started. Really liked this promo. Just was like the high school auditorium stairs kind of took me out of it. But the rest I thought was great. What did you think of what we got from Mox tonight?
I think if you're in pro wrestling, you have to do a promo on stairs at least every so often to maintain your professional wrestling license.
It's true. Yeah, you can't professionally wrestle without a stair promo at some point.
Yeah. But yeah, I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, it just feels so much more focused, and that's coming across in the promos and in the in-ring things when it comes to the Death Riders and Moxley. And it's a shame that it's taking this long to the point where we're coming to a close of it. They finally had focus, but it does make it feel a lot tighter as far as the programming.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that was, they had laid out such a clear mission when they put a plastic bag over Danielson's head, and they abandoned it so fast that it was like, oh, this whole thing fell apart. And then they kind of got on a different mission, but it was clear and close enough to the original one that it was like, it just makes something work. And I think they really, really found it, which is great. We'll talk about that more at the end of the night, but let's move on to this jet speed moment. And this promo that was way too fucking long. And the irony that Mark Briscoe came to cut it off and make it shorter and made it like another 10 minutes longer. You had Jet Speed defeating Ricochet and AR Fox. Very glad to see AR Fox being used consistently on television. A lot of people know the history between AR Fox and Ricochet. And I love the way that Ricochet is going about business of like assembling his Avengers, of like, it's not like I scouted you and that means I'm going to give you, and the Hurt Syndicate stuff was actually great, but like, here's my business card. I'm interested in you. What made the Hurt Syndicate stuff great was not everyone that he gave a business card to paid off, right? Like, didn't happen. Ricochet, like, he scouted Blake Christian and Lee Johnson, didn't invite them. Like, I love that he's being so tactical because that's this version of Ricochet. But him being like, I'm not here to fight you. I'm trying to get my gold, and I feel like you could be one of the people to help me do it. AR Fox being in there and him being like, he's doing great. I laughed out loud. His Chris Jenner, you're doing amazing, sweetie moment. I was in stitches with this. Really liked the match. Love AR Fox getting used again. He just is. He's so unrepeatable in the way that he moves about the ring. Like, I don't see people move the way that guy moves. What did you think of this? And then we'll talk about the 45-minute long segment that followed.
We're not going to take 45 minutes to talk about that, are we?
No, my God.
No, I thought the match was fun and it really felt like more of a showcase for AR Fox. I feel like you said, they've really been highlighting him more. And even, in the backstage with the interview after the loss, they're still propping him up. So I feel like him and Mortos, like those kind of guys, they're taking losses, but they are getting a lot more TV time, a lot more reps on TV. So I'm hoping.
And they're high quality losses. Losing to the world champion is nothing to sneeze at. Like, losing with Ricochet when you are telling a story alongside it is nothing to sneeze at. So yes.
Yes,
a very good point.
Yeah, meaningful losses. But I'm just curious to see who Ricochet tries to find to be his, in his posse. I think I don't know, maybe I think him and Max Caster should do something.
I heard people saying that because of the alignment of the characters.
Yeah.
I really liked the suggestion of the Gates of Agony, though. Like, just Ricochet with two bruisers feels like something that them against the Ops feels like fuck me, yeah. Like the trios titles would feel awesome with something like that. So, I really. I like the idea of having just two really big ass dudes behind him, but I'm like genuinely intrigued. It's not like a get to it already. I'm like, who is he gonna pick? Because I don't know. So some good stuff there. Well, we have the Jet Speed calling for their title shots, but you're not gonna believe this, Joe. They get attacked by the Hurt Syndicate. I can't pinpoint when it was, and I don't know if anybody can, but people are now like, I feel like the live crowd is still kind of in on it, but a lot of people are out on the Hurt Syndicate. And I think the reason why is, one, it's always very risky to do a non-swerve swerve, meaning like if you set up a story for a swerve and that MJF is just in the Hurt Syndicate and prolongs whatever it might be, that's a risky decision because it can wear thin. And I think that's happening. I think people also feel like they're just being fed teams and they're not really doing anything productive for the tag division. And right now, that's a great character arc for them. That division was on life support when they won those titles already. So I think it's tricky. But it feels like that's getting long in the tooth. And the way that they go about business being the same every time, I think is getting a little exhaustive. But you do have MJF announcing that he would enter the qualifier for the Casino Gauntlets. And Mark Briscoe comes out and he says that MJF takes too long to deliver promos and then extends the shit by like another 10 minutes. He does. Initially, I really liked this because Mark Briscoe doesn't always do this, but he's like, I know where all your mean shit comes from. It's because you're deeply insecure. And then he makes a small dick joke, and I actually kind of liked it because it's like, just because you're an insecure dick and I have empathy, word of the day, empathy for where you're coming from, doesn't mean that you get to still just be an asshole. Because MJF just is like, you're going to do what you do all the time and lose. Huge pop for the you have a small kosher pickle in your pants line. Of note, the Hurt Syndicate was laughing at MJF when he got called this. So I think MJF's going to see the writing on the wall and cost them those tag championships. I would love for it to be to Jet Speed because both of those guys have been doing excellent work and are very over very quickly with the crowd. And they would be such a fun tag team to crown them. That would also just be really fun in the just like having fun baby faces go over at your biggest show of the year thing. I'm in on that. I'm in on that. So what do you think of all of this? And then we will talk about the 4-way that Mark Briscoe ended up winning shortly.
It was long and exhausting and didn't really do anything to move the needle for me as far as the Hurt Syndicate.
Tiny kosher needle?
Almost, yeah. Maybe even a smaller one than that. It feels like ever since MJF got involved with this, Lashley and Shelton have become just background. So like you said, like we don't care really about the tag titles. MJF and MVP are just kind of propping each other up. But I've been paying attention more to like Bobby's reaction. Like I said, them laughing at the tiny pickle joke. Bobby giving MJF a glare while he's on the turnbuckle, talking about wanting to win back his title. I think that's going to be fun to watch where they realize that he's taking time away from them and what MVP told them isn't really happening.
Yeah.
I want this to hopefully resolve itself within the next by All Out.
I think there were a lot of people that felt like there was like, obviously this is where Cedric comes in, or obviously like this or that, and now it's just like I feel like it was so interesting and then it lost steam very quickly. Like I think people were so intrigued and then MJF just ended up joining. So people were like, yeah, All right. Now what?
I think Jesse would be a fun team to upset them because they're small, quick guys that on the surface you wouldn't think would have any shot against them. So for them to win the titles would be really a shot in the arm for them.
I think there's something really interesting with them too, because they are like high flying in some cases, like energetic, scrappy underdog baby faces. But Kevin Knight's dropkick is insane. And also Mike Bailey's just kicks, just general kicking in general is insane. So it's kind of like they're scrappy underdogs until they're not. You know what I mean? Until Mike Bailey kicks you in the fucking leg and you fall down. So I think there's some interesting possibilities with that. And I feel like MJF costing them it protects that a little bit too. But let's talk about this four-way match with Mark Briscoe defeating Takeshita, Bandito, and Roddy Strong. What a week Bandito had in Mexico in general. Like, my God, was that man massively over? Looks just like a megastar. Just an incredible professional wrestler, Bandito. And every quality about him, like just nuts. I said this online and I stand by it. I think Mark Briscoe is in too many things. But then I see him wrestle and I don't feel that way anymore. But I feel like he's just in too much stuff. I do like that the Hurt Syndicate was like, you're going to lose. And then he didn't, because he's always losing. So that simple heel babyface stuff plays really well. That's kind of why I feel like Jet Speed working them winning would work too. Because like sometimes just pure baby faces beating big nasty heels like is the way to go. But the story for me in this match was I need a Roddy Strong Takeshita feud for 85 years for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life, I need this. There were some moments like in the middle to the end of this with Roddy and Takeshita that I was like, I think because Roddy just genuinely hits really fucking hard. And Takeshita's huge and also likes to hit really fucking hard. And there's a size disparity that like, it wasn't like Takeshita had to lighten up because he wasn't picking on someone his own size. Like Roddy was laying shit in, and this was, it moved me spiritually. I believe in God again. There was some incredible professional wrestling in this. Like, my goodness. And like Roddy's been so good. And I know he had his international title run and people remembering like the silly stuff. And he just kind of gets put into the reliable worker role. He redefines what it means to be a reliable worker because he makes everybody look great and he makes it feel like pro wrestling. Like that guy's unbelievable to me. One of the very best workers. What did you think of this four-way? And what did you think of the result? I don't hate Mark Briscoe winning because everybody loves him and he'll be massively over in Texas. But I was just like, that wasn't the story of the match for me. The story of the match was those other guys.
Yeah, it was far better than it had any right to be based on where it was in the card. Because usually at that, the bottom of the second hour where it's usually kind of the depth slot for AEW.
Sure.
It had a lot of time. All four guys were plausible winners due to Bandito having been hot right now, Takeshita trying to get built back up like a single star, and Roddy being Roddy all the time. But yeah, Briscoe is just like that. I don't know, that whenever you need to add more salt or pepper or whatever seasoning you want in your cabinet, it's that reliable thing you get out of your cabinet to spice anything up. And you just add a pinch of Briscoe. Just add Briscoe to a match. Add Briscoe to a tournament. Whatever you need. Add Briscoe to a conglomeration. He's just kind of that break glass in case of emergency. Him winning, cool. He's not going to win the gauntlet, but he plays that role very well. And he's the not really sympathetic babyface, but just he gets the crowd behind him all the time. So
he definitely does. And I also like in this match was like, oh, Takeshita's working the G1, I'm pretty sure. Because I was like, Takeshita should win this. And then I was like, oh, like Takeshita being the first Casino Gauntlet guy would be really, really fun. But I was like, that guy's probably working the G1. So they don't want him like in something that intense in that time period would be my guess. But you're right. Mark Briscoe's he's the spice of life, man. I love MXM. I don't make any qualms about that on the show, but like their promo that they cut after they lost on Collision, where they were like, made Sword just losing his mind going, what do the guys even talk about? You've got a teleporting mute. And he was like, a chicken farmer, a teleporting mute. I was dying when he called hologram a teleporting mute. I like fell off of my, what did he even talk about? I was in absolute stitches. So now like that's just such a fun way to redefine the conglomeration. We do get Adam Cole, who his title reign's been so hot you forgot he was champion and that it was Daniel Garcia, but he's actually been doing really good work. It just is not, this title is continually not featured the way it probably should be. The trios titles are featured in singles programs. The TNT title is featured in in trios programs more often than not. But he issues an open challenge for the TNT title the next day. And I actually do like that title being on Collision more often than not because it's the TNT title. And Adam Cole has looked much more comfortable in the more recent months since he got back from his injury. Like he got his feet back under him kind of in that Garcia feud, it felt like. I don't know who answers the challenge. They're taping it tonight. So we'll find out via spoiler who it is. Any takers? Anybody you want to see in there?
No, because I'll probably forget after the match happens anyway. So
fair. That's fair. Hopefully they'll make it memorable. Oh, is it Josh if it's Josh Alexander, that rules. Cole and Josh Alexander is sign me up for that.
That's fair.
I don't know if that's a spoiler or who you want to see, but I want to see it. So I hope it's a spoiler. We did also get a really good Stokely Hathaway promo where he was gonna rely on vandalism after what happened, but he chose not to. Cooler heads prevailed, and he's just moving things along for FTR. This pairing just continues to work for me. Like Stokely with FTR is working, because as funny as Stokely is, he's got that throwback heel manager side to him, and FTR correcting, I think it was Renee who was like Stokely Hathaway, and they were like, it's Big Stoke. It got me really good too. This is good. I was glad that they just kind of like kept this on the show and kept this moving along.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. I think, like I said, he plays that throwback heel manager role, and what better tag team to be a throwback heel manager for?
Yeah, legit. That's kind of been the takeaway of this whole thing. Yeah. Shout out to the Young Bucks who tweeted RIP Hung Bucks because of the way they attacked Hangman Page at the end of the show, by the way, which we're going to talk about shortly. But first, we're going to talk about our women's four-way, and this was a blast. Willow Nightingale in her Death Before Dishonor gear, which I loved because that was such an important match with Willow and Athena. That was one of the best of Athena's very long reign. Everybody understood the assignment. Like this, I was worried Thunder Rosa might feel out of place. I thought she brought it tonight. Like, I think everybody had a chance to shine in this. I really liked this match, and it felt kind of like the Don't Forget About Us part of it a little bit. Like, Tony has been such an incredible, never been seen before runaway train of a character. And Mercedes is the best women's wrestler in the world, probably. Right? So, at least outside of the WWE ecosystem. So, the fact that they were like, hey, reminder, like, I know that's the big women's match going into All In, but like, we're here too, I think is important. And I think they all came out with a purpose tonight. Athena being on AEW television, Duh. Like, come on now. Let's go. What did you think of our women's four-way?
My biggest takeaway was, I think it needs to be more on TV more.
Yeah.
And that was just really interesting to see how Willow and Statlander would interact with each other in this one, with all the build and the tension and the trying to repair their friendship and not working. I would have loved for this match to have been the main event and gone on last. I forgot about the main event. It was Mortos and Heyman. So I think
because it started at like 7 of, and we got an overrun, of course. But this could have main evented, and I would have been satisfied. Like to your point,
could have main evented and still could have got the Death Riders portion of it at the end when Maria came and interfered, and when Willard came and interfered. You could have had Heyman and others, or whoever else come out later on and try to make the save and still have the same outcome, but have the women's match be the main event still.
I would have liked that quite a bit. I can't say there was anything I saw out of Beast, Mortos, and Hangman that made me disappointed that was the main event. But I think just the mere stakes of the women's one alone and Athena being such a rare commodity, unfortunately, I do agree with you. I was not like, I can't believe this other match main evented, because that was also very good. They had insane chemistry. But I'm with you. You could have.
How the Mortos and Heyman match got set up. Was it just like, I missed something on Collision, or did they just like throw a match together?
That's a good, because now he is Beast nepotism. Because Mercedes doesn't have creative control for her, but she does have it for Beast Mortos. I do think there was probably just
I guess it's kind of like
there was a big wave. Yeah, probably everybody's in that now. But my guess is they, to be honest, I bet they saw the ratings from Mexico and were like, I think we should have Bandito and Beast Mortos on Wednesday. I honest to God think they were probably like, we should probably keep lucha wrestling on the forefront as we're going forward into Texas, which has a lot of Hispanic representation around it. But yeah, you're right. From a stakes perspective, and this match was booked for funsies. Certainly, that's that you could easily make the argument the women's one should have gone on last, but not mad about it. I will say, because of what they set up at the end, there is a fair way to say that should have main evented, not because of the match, which was excellent, by the way. Like, because Beast Mortos is just such a little like refrigerator of a man and hits so hard, and Hangman also hits really hard. Like, they had great chemistry. I was like, there was something to Hangman leading a stable of like Brian Keith, Bandito, and Hangman as like the outlaws, and facing Beast Mortos, and like you could have put him in like LFI or whatever.
Would they be the new aged outlaws?
The new aged outlaws, yeah. I think that's the newest aged outlaws. But I had a ton of fun watching this match, and then post-match, we get an angle that you're like, oh, the lights go out, the Young Bucks come out and attack Hangman Page, and out come the heels to do the same. They get run off by the Ops and the Faces, but not Swerve, which I thought was a very good detail. And I think it's also like, of course, because that's how the story plays out. But then for me, I sat back and was like, oh my God, but it's like the Elite. Like, this is the moment where this is now like permanently fractured for now, right? Of like, the Young Bucks are the ones opening the door for all the damage to be done to Hangman. They're not blaming anybody else. Like, they are fully standing on Hangman getting his ass kicked. And the significance of that ran deeper than my initial reaction once I sat in it for a little bit longer. And then Jon Moxley said stuff and spit on the camera, which was gross. But I don't think he's the kind of guy that cares about like, oh, I didn't mean to. He's not very nice. So I don't think he's that considerate of the cameraman. So
He would never hit someone who shouldn't be hit, or nudge someone.
No,
or,
certainly. I'll give you guys a little Fightful Select plug for that because there's updates over there. But what did you think of? I really liked the match. There was some good, there was hard hitting stuff, but then there was also very clever stuff. Like there was a really nice, just drop a toe hold there, like little things that kind of made it feel like a wrestling match and a fight, which I really liked in this. What did you think of the match and the post match angle?
The match was what I thought it would be as far as striking. And it is fun to see that, oh, yeah, by the way, we can do wrestling holds. And it always just surprised me to see Heyman do, his flip off the rope onto the floor. I'm like, I can't imagine doing that, being 12 days out from a big pay-per-view, and you being, one bad fall away from, breaking your ankle. But, I know it's probably just, it's repetition for him. It's just a reaction that he does. But that was impressive. And then just the half and half suplex and I think the snap mirror dragon suplex they did at the end, back and forth on each other. Those will never not make me cringe. He always looks like you're getting dropped in your neck.
Yeah, yes, I agree. I always do one of those.
But yeah, they have really nice chemistry, and I like to the point about the swerves not coming out. I liked how they had a little bit of a pregnant pause of you didn't know who was going to come out and save him right away. He kept going and going, and you're almost waiting for swerve pieces to hit. But yeah, there's ops.
I feel like that's really subtle storytelling. It's not like I can't trust him again, Will. It's not soap opera-y. It's just noticeable by his absence, Swerve Strickland, and that is the kind of shit I like, Joe. I'll tell you what. That's it. That's our show. No one was expecting Darby. They were in Seattle. I understand that. I think I would be shocked if he's not a Casino Gauntlet surprise or end of pay-per-view surprise. Probably with Sting. I'm assuming 900 people come out during the main event on the heel and the face side. And they still got Wrestle Dynasty. I would be shocked if it wasn't Hangman versus Darby at Wrestle Dynasty in a face versus face fight. I think that could be really fun, honestly. So, but I get what you're saying. But Joe, that's our show. Don't you know? Let's go.
It was like riding a bike.
That is our show for tonight. But before we get out of here, there are some things that we're going to tell you about, including if you're just like, what a unique and incredible background these people have as I'm watching this. What a refreshing logo. I wish I could just wear it. I wish I could wear it front and back. I wish I could wear it pocket sized. I wish I could wear it just straight up. I have some great news for you. You're going to head over to Pro Wrestling Tees and you're going to order yourself a Mark Order Podcast t-shirt. It's available in several variations. You got the OG original right on the front, the mic check, 1212. You got the word Fonty logo, as I like to call it. No one's ever called it that. And then you have the pocket size one, which is my favorite one. One LT Photo says he wears his every Wednesday. I bet it's the most comfortable shirt he owns. That's not me just saying that to make you guys buy shirts. So, but if you are sincerely, head over to ProWrestlingTees.com. Look for our Mark Order podcast store. Hey, maybe we will be available at Walmart, because I don't know if you saw that, but AEW merchandise has select Tony Storm, Will Ospreay, and AEW logo t-shirts available at Walmart. And I feel like we're probably very close to our big licensing deal. That's probably the next stop for us, is available in major retailers and big box stores. So feels reasonable.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, where can I not read recent reviews about cereal, but can read older reviews about cereal? I only said that because I saw the chat being like, where are the cereal reviews, Joe?
It's fair, yeah. It's an archive right now. It's a repository.
Is that why you weren't around last week? You didn't want to face the shame?
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I know it.
You know what? I have to admit that I promised a review and I didn't deliver. So
fair.
But you can read my old ones, and you can find those
You know
by
what?
going to my bio at _Agent Joe on social media.
Can I make a suggestion?
Oh, of course.
I feel like you should take me off screen and do a sincere apology. That is like just you on the screen.
Dear friends and people in chat, I apologize for being less than consistent on my cereal review blogs. I know I'm laying you down. You're eating a lot of cereal right now without informed decisions. So I promise that sometime in July, I will put out a cereal review blog, or so help me, I will never show my face again. And it'll just be Ryan's show by himself.
It has now become extremely important that you review next week because
I have to have stinks.
It's true. You do. Your podcast ship vice presidency is on the line. So, but now you know. We don't do notes app bullshit at the Mark Order podcast. You're gonna get sincere apologies, full screened like Joe just did. But you can find me at Miss Kate Fabe on social media. I've got a video dropping tomorrow. I might do it as a live. We're gonna see. But we're gonna talk about post Jon Moxley dropping the championship. What do we do with the Death Riders? Because I think there are some fun possibilities that don't include get them off screen. So we're going to talk about that. I might do that one live because I want to get other people's suggestions in that. But Miss Kate Fabe on social media and on my YouTube channel, if you could head on over there and support, that would be incredible. We're also going to be doing BattleBots watch-alongs, of course. And we're going to be doing, I'm now obsessed with advice stuff from Reddit and like the am I the asshole things. So my goal is to read those and give the worst advice possible as a live. We'll probably have some guests on for that too. That'll be fun to just, what is the worst advice you could give in this situation? So we're rebooting stuff. We're doing some fun stuff over there. So head on over. I did do a should Jon Moxley and John Cena have Freaky Friday the roles they're in video? Like, should CM Punk be the heel that sold out right now and John Cena be the face? That was before all the silliness that took place. With the pipe bomb. But
which one's Jamie Lee Curtis and which one's Lindsay Lohan?
Ooh, that's a great question. I feel like CM Punk is Lindsay Lohan, and that like he thinks he's Punk, but now he's going to Saudi Arabia to peddle Saudi Arabian government propaganda, basically. So I'm gonna say like he's arm sleeves away from big Lindsay Lohan in that movie. How do you watch BattleBots? You can watch it right online because they don't have a TV deal right now. So the BattleBots YouTube account. Oh yeah, and Collision is tomorrow. So if you're a Collider, stay tuned for that. We won't be reviewing that because Joe is in a period of deep reflection of not doing his serial review blogs, and he needs to think about what he's done before he considers that. But we're gonna get out of here. Follow the Mark Order podcast on social media as well at Mark Order Pod. We're gonna say goodbye. And good night.
Outro slide. There it is. Slow down. Find the music. Where's the music? Oh, God. No, that's
the narration stays, even when
there
Ryan's not here. Hey-o.
This concludes the Mark Order podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Join the Mark Order.